The stupas, called chertan in Tibetan, are the most representative monuments of Buddhism as a whole. They are built to shelter relics, and their architecture, composed of 5 stories, is a book of metaphysics in itself. The 5 dhyani Buddhas, or refractions of the Absolute, the 5 constituents of the human being, the 5 passions that can be transformed, the 5 perfections. The whole of Buddhism is symbolized here. Even those who are unable to express the elements of wisdom themselves can feel at the deepest level that life has a meaning, that the Absolute is compassion itself. They too take refuge in the promise of ultimate perfection for every being, and hail the jewel in the lotus, Om Mani Padme Hum. Near the ancient monastery in Rumtek, 15 kilometers from Gangtok, the disciples and followers of the great master Karmapa are constructing a temple on exactly the same lines as the Tibetan temples. I take the opportunity of these images to pay homage to Sonam Topke Kazi, my collaborator and interpreter. It is a work of faith, for hundreds of people have come down from the mountains to work here, voluntarily. Tibetans, Nepalese, Bhutanese, and Sikkimese work fraternally together. In India itself, only one temple has been completed by refugees, the one in Mussoorie, which was decorated by Tibetan artists. But near Kalimpong, the Sherpas and friends of the famous Sherpa Tenzing, the first man to conquer Everest, did not overestimate their strength or their faith, but rather their material resources. Through lack of financial aid, their temple remains unfinished, like the ruins of their shattered expectations and their unshakable hope. In Tibet, some of the big monasteries housed several thousand monks. They were divided into faculties, and generally, a medical faculty was included. Among the few who survived from the monasteries, some were able to retreat into India. In Dharamsala, a group of Lama doctors was formed with the intention of maintaining and teaching traditional Tibetan medicine. I have been told that it takes 9 years to qualify as a doctor and 12 to become an excellent doctor. Considering that medical studies demand a thorough learning of thousands of pages by heart, it is not too early to start as a child. This medicine is a synthesis of secular Tibetan practice, Chinese acupuncture, and Hindu Ayurvedic medicine. Tibetan chemists say that several hundred types of preparations are made up from 1,000 botanical species, giving treatment based essentially on plants. As all the plants were not found in their own country, the Tibetans organized important expeditions to neighboring countries, particularly on the Indian slopes of the Himalayas. The Tibetans have no trouble recognizing the success of modern medical science. But a Swiss doctor was so convinced by the value of some of the knowledge acquired by the Lamas that he immediately learnt the Tibetan language to be able to study with his colleagues from Lhasa. There is, of course, a rift between our pharmaceutical specialities, made up to the nearest milligram, and the approximation of Tibetan chemists. But after a year of observation, this Swiss doctor told me that there is no doubt about the recoveries obtained. The Tibetans have extremely precise ideas about which pills, from the hundreds available, to prescribe not only for a particular illness, but especially for a particular patient. For during my conversations with the doctors in Dharamsala, it appeared to me that they concentrated more on treating a human being as a whole than on treating the symptoms of an organic disorder. Apart from a minute examination of the eye, the diagnosis always takes into account the pulse rate, or more precisely 2 pulse rates. and observations of the reactions that occur when a urine sample is whisked, in particular, the speed of the appearance and disappearance of the froth that forms upon it. Here, measurements are being taken with a wooden stick, but the aim is not to locate acupuncture points, but to specify precisely the symmetries and asymmetries of the patient's body in relation to the proportions of an ideal type. As in European hospitals, the head consultant and his assistant are accompanied by students during consultations. I was not able to check on this, but extraordinary results have been attributed to a Tibetan type of acupuncture, where measurement is also used. If certain university monasteries were able to accommodate as many as 7,000 monks, one should not forget, since the Buddha himself became convinced that women too could be allowed into the community, they have always found in Buddhism the possibility to enter religious life as nuns, to have their heads shaved, and to wear monastic robes. Of the tens of thousands of nuns in Tibet, only about 100 survivors went into India, but they continue to practice yoga and meditation there. The nuns, like the monks, devote their time to the services, rituals, study, reading, prayer, and practice of the mudras. These movements involve the entire being, and each one has a deep symbolic meaning. The rest of the nuns settled in Dalhousie, on the opposite side of the Himalayan chain. Before celebrating the office of the Buddhist faith, they make a ritual tour of the bungalow, which is both their home and their temple. These nuns belong to the Kagyupa order, the order of the yogis. It was founded by the famous ascetic Mapa and, above all, by Milarepa, famous for his works of initiation and sublime poetry. The encounter with the Tibetan world reveals the division of Tantric Buddhism into several orders. The four main orders group almost all the followers, both monks and hermits. The monks here are Nyingmapa. This name means the elders. Their order was the first to be founded in Tibet. Today, in India, their most venerated guru is this man, who, like many Mongols, is beardless and whose long hair is tied back into a bun, in the fashion for Tibetan men. He is a sage who is married. He is father of a family. His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche. It is mainly against the Nyingmapa lamas that some Westerners have made accusations of immorality, witchcraft, perversion of Buddhism, and other criticisms. They disappear of their own accord, when one spends some time with men of the caliber of Khyentse Rinpoche, Kongyo Rinpoche, and Dudjom Rinpoche. Here you can see Dudjom Rinpoche celebrating a tantric initiation ritual or abhisheka. The end of this ritual is too sacred, too secret to be filmed. But even in the initial part of this ritual, we are taken to the very heart of the authentic Tibetan tradition. I would like to remain silent and spare you the commentaries, so that you may, at least as spectators, have the direct experience of this Tibetan tradition.